Well, it's time for day 3 of 49ers Intel. The third practice of training camp was yesterday. Friday night, decided to give you guys off from the show. In fact, I was at dinner, so didn't have time to do a show last night, but got some cool footage. I'm actually out in Denver. You'll probably recognize that this looks like a hotel room. It indeed is. 49ers are off today, but we get to talk about the day 3 practice. And in a little bit, I'll show you some cool 49ers memorabilia, some legendary 49ers memorabilia. It's actually here at a restaurant in Denver. You could probably guess if you know Denver connections to the 49ers over the next few minutes before I show you. You probably guess who it's related to. Anyway, day 3 of 49ers Intel. First, we have a little bit of an update, and it's that Frank Gore is back with the 49ers. He has signed on as an advisor to the front office. Saw Frank at practice yesterday, and I knew something was up. He's been around the team facility here and there after retiring as a 49er, about a year ago, I think it was. But now he is back with the team in an official capacity. So the legendary future Hall of Famer Frank Gore has put pen to paper. He is officially back with the 49ers in an advisor role. And, you know, when it comes to football smarts, Frank Gore certainly has them. He had that feel, right? He had the feel for where the hole was going to be. He knew how to pass protect. He had the feel for where opposing blitzers were going to come from. Frank Gore understood the game of football when he was a player. I'm sure he still understands the game of football now. And he's not a bad guy to have as part of your front office. So congratulations to Frank Gore. He has signed a contract to become an advisor for the 49ers in their front office. All right, on to Intel from day 3. Let's play the highlights, courtesy of the 49ers. Brock Purdy was sharper. Here he is connecting with Brandon Ayuk on the rollout to the left side. Christian McCaffrey. There was a nice pass from Ayuk to McCaffrey that split a couple defenders. Brandon Ayuk remains uncoverable. He is the star for the 49ers offensively. So is McCaffrey. There's Elijah Mitchell, who caught a nice seam pass on that play from Sam Darnold. Darnold to Mason, Jordan Mason out of the backfield. Trey Lance's big completion of the day, that was to Tay Martin, open on the intermediate route. Elijah Mitchell, by the way, quietly, he's healthy. He's looking spry. 49ers second running back behind that guy, Christian McCaffrey, who's here from Denver, where I'm at right now. Or Jordan Mason, who might have a bigger role this year. We'll see. Ty Davis-Price looking trimmed down and sleek as well. Look at that catch from Jawan Jennings. One-handed grab from Sam Darnold. Jennings has been good so far in this camp. So maybe we'll play the highlights a little bit more later, but let's talk about what happened at day 3. Let's, reset things, because I think there's a lot. I'm talking about resetting things because there's a lot of freak out. And of course, I reset my own video. Embarrassing. Not good. Let me make sure that my mic is still on, and then we'll talk. Yeah, we're good. But I'm going to have to reinsert some of the media that I was going to show you, but that's too bad. It's my fault. So talking about resetting, the fan base's temperature here, because it's skyrocketed. It's getting a little bit crazy online. Guys, we're only 3 days into training camp. Pads don't come on until day 5. We're on our first off day. We're going to be back out at the stadium tomorrow. It's going to be the final day that the 49ers are just installing stuff in shorts without pads. It is way too early to be making proclamations or delivering insane complaints or, thinking that Kyle Shanahan is mismanaging something. I mean, it's just insanity. It's way too early, specifically, to be wringing your hands over quarterback stuff. We can report who's playing well, who's doing some stuff poorly, and we can say, okay, this is what they're going to need to improve. And that's exactly what I did with Trey Lance yesterday. He threw 2 passes that were short gimmies that completely missed the mark. One to Braden Willis that was into the turf, one that was behind Jordan Mason. They were both passes that an NFL quarterback has to make at least 98% of the time. You can have the occasional fluke miss on those passes, but you can't miss both of those gimmies on consecutive attempts. That's what Trey Lance did yesterday. He has to turn around and get better when he's back out of practice tomorrow. Then he has to turn around and maintain those improvements once the pads come on Monday and beyond. That's all that we can read into it for now. The people that are saying, oh, okay, the 49ers just need to trade him or cut him. Guys, it's one practice. Trey Lance was better on day one. Day one, he was 4-5. I like the accuracy. He's been shaky in warmups on some of these short passes, so I think it's an absolute concern. But we need to let camp play out organically, because that's how the 49ers are treating this. You're going to drive yourself crazy if you're looking at every single throw and nitpicking the stat sheet that I put out every single day, because that's just not the way that this is going to be envisioned. They're viewing this as a cumulative process, an organic development of their quarterback room. And right now, I can tell you what the cumulative stats are for 49ers quarterbacks through 3 days. This might deliver the perspective that's necessary, because like I said, Trey Lance was 4-5 on day one, right? So that was okay by any stretch of the imagination. You look at 4 or 5, that means that he was doing something right. He wasn't throwing the ball into the ground multiple times on short passes, at least. So through 3 days of camp, 11 on 11 work. Brock Purdy is 9 of 21. He hasn't been off to the best start either. Remember the 3 of 10 day, but he was better yesterday at 6 of 11. Sam Darnold is 9 of 16. Trey Lance is 7 of 14. Not horrific. The 49ers need him to be better than 50%. And Brandon Allen is 5 of 12. Purdy's been working against the ones. Darnold's been working against the ones and the twos. Trey Lance has also been working against the ones and the twos. And Brandon Allen has been working against the threes. Anybody insinuating that Brandon Allen is getting just as much work as Trey Lance right now is not being serious or is not being credible, because Brandon Allen's working against the third team. Brandon Allen's the third team quarterback. Trey Lance has gotten to work against the first team, and then on days that Brock Purdy has played, he's been working with the second team, splitting reps with Sam Darnold. Brandon Allen has gotten time. Yes, the 49ers do need to develop him, because the goal is to have a big and robust quarterback room, and you want to have option power in case one of these guys might be trade fodder at the time of the cut down day. But Brandon Allen is not getting the same type of work as Trey Lance. Yes, he has 12 throws and Lance has 14 throws so far, but there's a big difference between working with the threes and a big difference with being the first team quarterback on the days that Brock Purdy takes off and being the second team quarterback on the other days. And that's where Sam Darnold and Trey Lance are right now. Again, we are entering the padded practices on Monday. So just take a step back. And finally, I see people saying that on social media. And it's the same people that were jumping to conclusions after day 2, 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, when it was Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, which is funny to me. I was saying, hey, everybody pump the brakes. One throw from Trey Lance is not going to unseat a multi-year starter. And people thought I was crazy for saying that, right? Well, you saw that one throw from Trey Lance against third-string competition didn't really matter in the big picture of things in 2021. It seemed to matter on Twitter. It seemed to matter to people on social media, but it doesn't matter in the big picture. Well, I'm staying consistent with that stance. A couple throws that Trey Lance missed yesterday don't matter in the bigger picture. They seem to matter to some people who want to aggregate stuff on social media and get a whole lot of clicks. But where they do matter is that Trey Lance needs to be showing consistent improvement with the accuracy. And with gauging that, we're going to be looking at the full range of training camp. We're not just going to be looking at one practice, right? And when there is so much pressure on these quarterbacks, as there obviously is right now, with Brock Purdy being the favorite to start, and if anybody else is going to be able to get legitimate playing time, they're going to have to blow the 49ers away. It's not ideal to throw a couple balls either into the dirt or behind a short target. So yes, Trey Lance has to get better, but wringing your hands over it when we knew that he has accuracy issues, that he's a raw quarterback, that he's got to address those. Wringing your hands over one practice doesn't do anybody a whole lot of good. We need to see how this is going to play out over the longer picture, and that's how the 49ers are viewing it. So, and then there's the whole rep division argument. I addressed that a little bit because Brandon Allen is working with the threes. Brandon Allen deserves reps too. He was the number 2 for Cincinnati last year, so he's used to getting reps. The 49ers, and I talked about this yesterday. I feel that I talk about it every day. They're trying to build as deep of a quarterback room as possible, because there are only 7 QBs in the NFL last year that played all 17 games. So most teams have to delve into their quarterback depth. The 49ers have had to delve exceptionally deep into their quarterback depth. So there's nothing wrong with fostering a 4 QB room in training camp. That's not to say that you're going to carry 4 on the 53-man roster, although it doesn't seem that Shanahan has ruled that out. But you probably are going to, with the third quarterback rule especially, you're going to want to carry 3 on the 53 and 1 on the practice squad. So you're going to want to get as many looks as possible at all of your guys so you avoid a situation where you go to a Josh Johnson who is completely unplayable. That's what the 49ers ran into last year. Josh Johnson was unplayable in the NFC Championship game. Again, the same people complaining about Brandon Allen getting reps against the threes. We have people complaining about third string reps. He's getting reps against the threes. The same people complaining about that would be the ones complaining about Brandon Allen not looking good in regular season or playoff action if the 49ers needed to turn to him in an emergency. So you got to pick your poison here. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Let's put it that way. If you want your quarterback depth to be built out, robust, and developed, guys are going to have to get some reps in the system. And Brandon Allen's gotten them with the threes. And there are finite reps in practice, yes. So this is the way that the 49ers are dividing them. They're going Brock Purdy first team. They're dividing Sam Darnold and Trey Lance with the second team and Brandon Allen with the threes. And then obviously every third day, or at least every third consecutive day of Brock Purdy rest. I don't know if the days off are going to change this. I would expect Brock Purdy to be with the first team tomorrow. But whenever Brock Purdy does get that third day of rest, you're going to see Sam Darnold and Trey Lance do what they did on day one, and that's work against the first team. And coincidentally, maybe not coincidentally, that's when Trey Lance looked his best, 4 or 5 on day one. So again, let these cycles play out a couple times. I think that the joint practices with the Raiders on August 10th and August 11th are going to be extremely important as far as quarterback evaluation, because you're going to see exotic defense. You're not going to be going up against your guys every day. You're going to get to see Jimmy Garoppolo, too, on the other side, going against the 49ers defense. That might give some perspective as to what's happening here with all of the 49ers quarterbacks who have had some tough sledding over the past couple days. And in general, it's going to be just an exciting respite from what we're seeing, the monotony, the day in, day out grind of training camp. So just let the entire picture play out before hand-wringing or making decisive judgments, because that's exactly what the 49ers are doing. Few observations. 49ers running backs, I think they're looking really good out of the backfield. You saw in that little sizzle reel that the 49ers put out, you had Jordan Mason catching the ball out of the backfield. Christian McCaffrey is obviously the best to do it in the game. And then you had Elijah Mitchell. I thought one of the most impressive throws from Sam Darnold was just a rifle 20 to 25 yards into the seam that Sam Darnold found Elijah Mitchell on. And Mitchell, I mean, that's a great example of Kyle Shanahan's play calling creativity. He's running it's not an angle route. It's not a wheel route. It's a seam route. You see tight ends running seam routes, but Elijah Mitchell is coming out of the backfield on the seam route. So that's going to be extremely difficult for a standard defensive alignment to cover. It was very difficult for the 49ers defense yesterday to cover. It requires arm strength, though. That throw needs to come in on a bolt, and it did from Sam Darnold before that safety can come over the top to take away the seam. It's obviously got to outpace the linebacker. That's more of Elijah Mitchell's duty, and we know that Elijah Mitchell can burn a linebacker. That's what he did yesterday. So big play for Elijah Mitchell. He's looking good out of the backfield. So is Jordan Mason. So is Ty Davis-Price. Trey Lance, when he looked good on day one, his biggest throw, his first throw, was to Ty Davis-Price out of the backfield. Similar type of route. I'd have to go watch the replay again to know if it was a wheel or if it was a seam. But the 49ers are creatively attacking defenses with their running backs. And this is the Christian McCaffrey effect, because Christian is obviously a 1,000 guy. His impact on the offense was so profound last year because of the way that he can run and the way that he can deliver out of the backfield. He's not going to be able to play every single snap. So it is imperative that the 49ers develop running back versatility behind him. So that way, when Christian comes out of the game, gets a breather, and you go to Ty Davis-Price, you go to Jordan Mason, you go to Elijah Mitchell, there is not a severe fall off of a cliff in terms of receiving threat. Defenses still have to be threatened by the passing game, and the passing game specifically to running backs downfield when Christian McCaffrey leaves the field. So this is why this has been really encouraging to me 49ers running backs looking good out of the backfield. This offense needs it to not skip a beat when Christian McCaffrey has to take a breather. On the defensive side of the ball, yesterday, there was a throw from Sam Darnold to Deebo Samuel on the out pattern that DeSean Gibson, the 49ers rookie undrafted corner out of Texas, was just all over, just draped all over Deebo Samuel. Not an interference penalty. It's good physical coverage, and you have to be physical with Deebo because he's probably the most physical receiver in the league. DeSean Gibson has showed up to play. I mean, this guy, he was a dog at Texas, right? The punt returns, the kick returns, and then just the feistiness on coverage. He's 5'9", 5'10", so he's not overly tall, but he plays a lot bigger than his frame. He's not afraid of anybody. And to be at 49ers training camp against an all-pro like Deebo Samuel, as an undrafted free agent, to be lined up against him on day 2, day 3, and then be able to square up on an out pattern like that without any sign of timidness, I thought that was impressive from DeSean Gibson. Another corner who is not timid at all, and it seems to be involved in 50% of the plays that we see on the back end, is Samuel Womack. Maybe he's standing out more because he's wearing the number 0 for the first time in 49ers franchise history after they allowed that. So he looks faster, right? They love those single digits, and 0 does stand out because we haven't seen that before. But Womack, to me, he's made a second-year jump in terms of strength, in terms of confidence, in terms of recognition. I mean, there's a reason that he's in there on all these potential interception plays. He's knocked a couple passes away. He's gotten beat a few times. I'm not saying that he was been perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but look out for these two young guys, Samuel Womack and DeSean Gibson, two shorter young guys in the defensive backfield, but both have nice big wingspan and both are really, really feisty near that line of scrimmage. I mentioned McCaffrey earlier. Boy, I have to mention him again. Every single time he touches the football, he is a bolt of energy for the 49ers offense. I mean, he goes 110% the whole time. The whole time, 110%. There are not plays taken off by Christian McCaffrey. And to me, that's a really important tone setter because, listen, yesterday was the first day without pads. Without fans at 49ers practice. They're going without pads until Monday. So every day right now is without pads. But no fans at 49ers practice. You can thank Taylor Swift for that. They didn't let fans into the building yesterday because of the big concert, which I heard was crazy. Plus, we heard Taylor Swift sound checking in the stadium while the 49ers were practicing. That was a first. Some of the players started dancing. It was pretty funny. But anyway, Christian McCaffrey, what were they talking about? Oh, yeah, he brings the energy. Christian McCaffrey brings the energy that you need. And the first day without fans, thanks to Taylor Swift, it was a little bit lower energy. And when that happens, somebody's got to give the spark. And Christian McCaffrey, without fail, he gave the 49ers a spark in OTAs. He gave the 49ers a spark yesterday in practice. You definitely felt a little bit more sluggishness. It was day 3. It was their, it's the longest they had practiced this season in this session, right before their break. They're coming off an off season where they still have to develop a little bit of a callus. They were dragging a bit. I don't think that the offense looked good to start, but Christian McCaffrey gets an outside pitch, bolts around the corner, squeezes through a hole. All of a sudden, everybody has a little bit more hop in their step. So the energy that Christian McCaffrey brings is definitely palpable. All right, I have to show you guys something cool here. Speaking of Christian McCaffrey, I'm in his hometown right now. And since that's Denver, by the way, I'm here for a wedding, just very briefly before heading back to camp tomorrow. So when you're in Christian McCaffrey's hometown, what you have to do is check out Shanahan's, because that's obviously connected to the 49ers as well. So this is Shanahan Steakhouse here in Denver. They have several Lombardi trophies in there, 3 to be exact. But here, look at this. There is Mike Shanahan. This is the memorabilia shelf right by the check-in counter. This is sometime in between, probably 1992, I'm guessing. Maybe 1993, because it's Steve Young, Steve Bono, and 49ers offensive coordinator Mike Shanahan. We'll pan further. You see Shanahan and John Elway. See a bunch of rings. See one of the Broncos Super Bowl trophies there. Shanahan with a couple presidents, George W. Bush and Bill Clinton. And then here it is, the 49ers Super Bowl trophy. January 29th, 1995, 49-26, Joe Robbie Stadium. in Miami. The 49ers in Super Bowl 29 beat the San Diego Chargers. So Mike Shanahan has his steakhouse, which is awesome, by the way, here in Denver. Excellent, excellent food. I mean, everything from the French onion soup to what was it? The ahi tuna? Yeah. Oh, the ahi tuna was awesome. And then obviously they've got all the steaks because it's a steakhouse. But you could come here in Denver and you could see a lot of 49ers memorabilia. And I thought it was awesome that they had a replica of the 49ers Super Bowl trophy as well. And there's a story about that Super Bowl. I saw Steve Young earlier yesterday have a video up with Steve Young, Ronnie Lott, and John Lynch from Stanford. So it was kind of a small world day. Here you see Mike Shanahan working with Steve Young. Steve Young threw 6 touchdown passes in that Super Bowl. You saw the trophy, 49-26 over the Chargers. That's an NFL record still, Super Bowl record, 6 touchdown passes. Mike Shanahan was so confident entering that game that he thought that Steve Young should throw 8 touchdown passes. He had it all scripted out. This is how detail-oriented Mike Shanahan was. He wanted Steve Young to throw 8 touchdown passes against the San Diego Chargers. So Steve throws 6, but there's still 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter in the game when Steve Young is sitting at 6 touchdown passes. The 49ers head coach at the time is George Seifert. Seifert yanks Steve Young out of the game. He puts the backups in. That's when Gary Plummer took the invisible monkey off of Steve Young's back. Remember that? It's a famous clip on the sideline. But anyway, there's still 10 minutes to go. 49ers are running away with it. Steve Young sitting at 6 touchdown passes. Mike Shanahan is up in the booth, steamed, pissed off, even though he's about to win a Super Bowl, that Steve is only at 6 touchdown passes and he wants him to throw 8. So Mike Shanahan picks up the phone, calls down to the sideline, and asks for Steve Young because he can't talk to George Seifert because I guess George Seifert's not listening to him on the radio. I don't know what the deal is with the headset. Seifert's the one that took Young out of the game. And Mike Shanahan starts just yelling into the phone and, probably using words I can't repeat here, telling Steve Young, why the hell did George take you out? Go up to George, tell him to go back in the game. You're supposed to have 8 touchdown passes in this game. I mean, he never let up. Mike Shanahan never let up. If there were going to be 8 touchdown passes in the script for Steve Young, he wanted those 8 touchdown passes to be realized. Nevertheless, George Seifert did not listen. Maybe the message never got to George Seifert, but Young stayed on the bench. Finished with 6 touchdown passes, had to settle for those 6. And now, 30 years later, nearly 30 years later, the trophy or a replica from that Super Bowl is here in Denver at Mike Shanahan's restaurant. 49ers are looking for another Lombardi trophy. 49-26 was the score the last time they won that Super Bowl. Anyway, you can check it out when you're here. I thought it was neat. One more time, we'll go through the sizzle reel, then I got to roll. Because this was a good sizzle reel that the 49ers put out. Let's find it. Here we go. Brock Purdy, 6 of 11 day. This was yesterday, by the way. Brandon Ayuk, tough to cover. Purdy, that was through the 2 linebackers to Christian McCaffrey. That was a nice quick release, little sidearm angle from him on that play. Purdy, I mean, the arm strength is there. The quickness is there. Definitely started to knock off some of the rust. There's Mitchell on that seam play. There's Darnold to Jordan Mason. I'm talking about the backside of the backfield. Been looking strong. That was Lance's big pass of the day to Tay Martin. Pitch left to Mitchell, who's running really well for the 49ers. Another pitch, this one to McCaffrey. That's the energy I'm talking about. I mean, he, without fail, gives it to the 49ers. Mason from Brandon Allen. More Sam Darnold. Here's the one-hander. Look at Jawan Jennings. Oh, man. That was a play. That was a hell of a play against Quantrez Knight, struggling to cover Jawan Jennings. So what a day for the 49ers out at practice. The defense definitely had the upper hand over the QBs. And I have an article, too, now up on DeSean Gibson that I'm going to show you right before I sign off. So go ahead and check this sucker out. It was a good day for the 49ers defense. I think it was a good day for Brock Purdy. I think it was a good day for Sam Darnold. And I think that Trey Lance just can't repeat these misses on short throws. But I think everybody should calm down because training camp is a marathon and it is not a sprint. This is up now on The Athletic. I wrote about DeSean Gibson. He's proven to be a perfect match for 49ers leadership role. DeSean Gibson's 32 years old now. And the 49ers were only planning to bring him in for spot duty last year when Jimmy Ward pulled his hamstring. At this time last year, DeSean Gibson was coaching his kids' Little League team. And then the 49ers called him around August 20th. And then he joined the 49ers. And then he led them with 5 interceptions. And the 49ers led the NFL with 20 interceptions. And he mentored Talanoa Hufanga. But he was still a little of a quiet leader last year because the 49ers had Jimmy Ward. Jason Verrett was still on the team last year. Emmanuel Mosley was on the team. Those guys are all gone. So now DeSean Gibson believes that he has to be a coach on the field for the 49ers. He needs to be more vocal. And he's fully embracing that role. So that's what I wrote about. It's up on The Athletic now. You can go ahead and check out the link, which I have copied and pasted, and I'll put it up there. So you could go ahead and check out the link in a second. So that's DeSean Gibson, 49ers safety. 32 years old, but still, I mean, he was one of the best players on the team on that defense last year. Really solid across the board. All right, everybody take care. Shanahan's in Denver. Cool 49ers connections. We'll see you soon.